मॉर्निंग 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 गुड मॉर्निंग गाइस सीए इंटर जैन 26 पढ़ाई कैसी चल रही है आई थिंक you guys are on that fast track mode right now to prepare well for your exams. I've been missing you guys, and for those who don't know me, my name is CS Sourabh Mutha and I'm here to talk about GST. As you know, that GST is on the prime focus of the government also right now. They reduced a lot of rates for products including electronics, etc., but that doesn't matter for your exams. What really matters is this amendment video. So GST amendments specifically for Jan 26 are going to be covered here in the next 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. You'll be a master at all these GST amendments. So while you're revising your GST, either finish the chapters and then look at these amendments, or you could look at these amendments and then dive into the chapter. The choice is yours. If you have any doubts, any questions, etc., I have a WhatsApp channel dedicated to doubt solving. If you have any doubts, jump into that WhatsApp channel, ask me that doubt, and I'll help you resolve it. Whether it's direct tax or whether it's GST, whether it's CA inter or whether it's CA fine. So without wasting too much time, let's dive in and let's see what are the GST amendments. By the way, the GST amendments are very easy on 5 on 10 difficulty level. So there's nothing very complicated here. So don't worry, watch this video again and again and you can clear your doubts on this. Let's start. Guys, these are GST amendments. This is specifically for Jan 26 exams. And in Jan 26 exams, I've done it chapter wise so that whenever revising a chapter, you can look at a particular amendment. These are notifications up to 30th June 2025. I'll tell you how it works. Your exam is in the month of Jan 26. They calculate 6 months before that. That means December gone, November gone, October gone, September gone, August gone, July gone. Is it 6 months? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 months, they will not ask any notifications, will not ask in the exam. So the last notification is only up to 30th June. So if there's any notification today that comes out, don't worry about it. And if your friend tries to confuse you, you know we have to block those kind of friends. All right. So चलिए जीएसटी करते हैं एंड अमेंडमेंट्स करते हैं. The first one is something called supply. I'm just going to give you a brief idea. Supply basically is the oxygen. If there is supply, there will be GST. And if there is no supply, there will be no GST. Guys, if you go to a casino in Goa, or if you go and bet on horse races or online games or even buy virtual digital assets, they are considered as actionable claims. That means on that there will be GST. Yes. So, sir, there is an actionable claim on which there is no GST. Which one is that? Yes. If I give you money and I demand it back from you, on that actionable claim, there is no GST. Otherwise, on all actionable claims like lotteries, betting, gamblings, and now also online gaming, horse racing, etc., there is GST. So, if you see this in the exam, will there be GST on this? Yes. Next. Supply of food and beverages, guys. Right now, Jolly LLV 3 is in the movie. So if I go and watch a movie, I buy a ticket of 200 rupees, plus I buy popcorn of, let's say, 200 rupees, PVR popcorn, let's say 300 rupees. So that 500 rupees is the composite supply, and the main supply is watching the movie. So that kind of GST rate will apply. That is section 8. But what if I only go and buy popcorn, etc.? Then that's called restaurant service. In a nutshell, both of them are services only, and both of them will be subject to GST. Next. Guys, let's say my phone got spoiled and it's under warranty. Example, unfortunately, let's say the screen broke. Fingers crossed. I hope that doesn't happen. But if the screen breaks and I go and change it to Samsung, I show it to Samsung, and they change it under warranty, they don't charge me anything. In that case, if they don't charge me anything, there will be no GST. What if they charge me some service charges? Of course, then if they are making money, the government will also make money. There will be GST. Now, on the products, if they apply some screen, etc., will they get the credit? Definitely, they will get the credit because they are using those stock for the purpose of business. So, any replacement of parts and repair services during the warranty period, if done free, no GST. If chargeable, there is GST. Very logical. GST overall is very logical like this. If you are making money, the government also wants GST. Next, you own shares of a subsidiary company or the holding company. Example, your Reliance, you hold shares of Geo. And if you sell those shares, will there be any GST? No, because there is no GST ever on securities. This is a chapter called supply. Charge of GST will come in some time. We'll now go to place of supply. Guys, place of supply is where GST becomes intrastate or interstate. Let me give you an example. This pen I ordered, it's from Karnataka. I ordered in Karnataka only. So it will be intrastate supply. And there will be CGST and SGST. If this pen is coming from Mumbai and it is coming to me in Karnataka, then it is IGST and interstate supply. So hence place of supply is important. Now, the only amendment here is actually not an amendment, it's a clarification. If I'm buying something online, example, if I'm buying something right now today online, I go on Amazon, I buy it, I'm in Karnataka, I'm buying it in Karnataka, but I'm sending it to my mom in Mumbai. So the delivery is for Mumbai, then what will be the place of supply? So here the billing address is Karnataka and the delivery address is Maharashtra, then the place of supply is where they are delivered. That's the only clarification. So my mom in Mumbai, when she gets the phone, that will be the place of supply. Let's go to the next chapter already. Very, very simple one. This one is exemptions under GST. What are the ones which are exempt under GST? Guys, as you know, there is a place called Sri Harikota in India, which is famous for satellite launch. It's basically in south of India where the satellites get launched really, really well. And if you are launching it from there, satellite launch service is offered by either ISRO or Antariksh or any other organization, also government owned, will be completely exempt. Absolutely right. Next is the services provided by the government. Anyways, example, public lights, etc., are exempt because they're constitutional duties of the government. But the list has been increased if they are providing you water supply, if they're giving you public health facilities, sanitation, conservation, solid waste management, some improvement and upgradation. These are also exempt. So services of the government, if you see any of these words in the exam, there will be no GST. This is fully exempt. This is also exempt. Guys, earlier the electricity that used to come to your house, whether supplied by Bescom or in Mumbai Adani Power or in Delhi Tata Power, then guys, electricity was always exempt from GST. But now even the meter rent, meter changing, any other thing, duplicate bill issue, all of them are exempt under GST. So now electricity bill will be free of any GST. It will be completely exempt. We now move to the next chapter, which is time of supply. Chapter wise. So basically revise the chapter, then come here and do this revision as well. Guys, this is a highway. It's being built and it's going, let's say, from Bangalore and it's, let's say, going to Mumbai, my favorite kind of highway. And on this highway, guys, they are charging me some toll. Now, as you know, guys, highways are given to private operators to build, operate, etc. So they will construct the road, they will maintain it, they will charge toll, etc. So this is a highway development project of road and maintenance thereof of National Highway Project of National Highway Authority of India. Now, sir, what are you talking about? As you know, guys, this construction of road is a service. Maintenance is also a service. Now, in that case, will there be GST? Yes. But when will there be GST? Because these construction contracts are generally for many, many, many years. So they are called hybrid annuity mode. Hybrid annuity mode means they're annually done. And in that case, whenever the invoice is raised or whenever the services are provided, whichever is earlier, that time the GST liability will arise, time of supply will be there. Example, let's say I've got a contract for 10 years, but I've raised an invoice this time on the 12th of December 2025 for, let's say, 50 lakh rupees. In that case, has the invoice been issued? Then in that case, time of supply is applicable. But what if I don't issue the invoice, but I have provided the services up to that much amount? Then in that case, also time of supply will apply, whichever is earlier. Very interesting, a very important chapter from the exam, ITC, input tax credit. Whichever you purchase, can you get credit on that? We have a shortcut called PC, Priyanka Chopra. No, purchase leads to credit. Example, today in my business, if I buy a laptop, will I get the credit? Yes, because used for business purpose. I'm just giving you an idea in a nutshell before we move ahead. Is on the road, if you see, there are some ducts which are kept, where there are some manholes which are kept. Now, these ducts and manholes which are used for optical fiber cable. Example, Geo is expanding in network and they want to put some optical fiber networks. For that, they will put new manholes. They will do all that work. When they purchase that, will they get credit on that? Is it immovable property or is it plant and machinery? The government has said that is plant and machinery and you will get credit on that purchase. You can claim credit. Next, very, very important, delivery on X workspaces. First, let me give you an example. Guys, I am purchasing some original equipment manufacturers from a original equipment manufacturers. I'm buying something. Example, I'm Maruti. And I'm buying some steering wheels from a company. Let's call this company ABC, which makes steering wheels. They are called original equipment manufacturers. I'm giving you this example and then we'll expand it to everyone. Now, Maruti says that, listen, I want 1 lakh steering wheels for a car like Swift. ABC company says, I'll give you the steering wheels, but I'll not deliver it to your place. I'll deliver it at my factory. So here is the delivery. This delivery is called X Works delivery, where they don't deliver it to your place, but they deliver it outside their factory, and you have to arrange for the transport. Now, Maruti will arrange for the transport today, that is 30th of September. The transporter will start the transportation and will give it to Maruti on the 10th of October. Now, Maruti, can they take credit in the month of September is the question. Yes. Because guys, Maruti had sent the transporter and the goods were given to the transporter on behalf of Maruti. So they have received the goods and in a way, they can also claim it in the month of September. Just reading it. Means delivery by the supplier at their office or factory, transport to be arranged by the buyer. Thus, in this case, once the transporter receives a good, it will be assumed that the buyer has received the goods and can claim ITC. So this is a very important concept here in ITC now. Let's go to registration. Guys, if I register, only then can I put that registration number outside my office and only then can I claim GST from my customers, clients, students, etc. Now, some points in registration, very simple points. First, earlier, when you used to register under GST, there used to be a physical verification sometimes and you had to be present. But now the presence of the applicant is not required even if there is physical verification. Physical verification should happen within 15 days after the date of verification. So physical verification should happen within 15 days, and they have to also intimate you before they come for physical verification. Next, guys, as you know, GST, everything happens online through a bank account. Now, when you apply for GST registration, do you need to update the bank account then and there? No, there is no requirement. There's a rule called Rule 10A, which says that you can update the bank details up to 45 days. Now, that has changed, and now they made it shorter. You have to update the bank details within 30 days of grant of registration or before you file your GSTR1 or IFF, whichever is earlier. I remember, if you don't update your bank details, then you'll be debarred from filing your GSTR1, and also your registration might get cancelled eventually. Guys, unfortunately, your registration is getting cancelled. You get a love letter from the GST officer that sorry, due to some fraudulent reasons or some other reasons, we're cancelling your registration, and you're worried because your credit has gone away. Now you go to the government and you beg to the government that government, please revoke my cancellation. That means cancel my cancellation, give me my registration back, bring it back to life. The government says you can make an application for this within 90 days. Earlier, this used to be 30 days, but that was very small period. So they made it 90 days, and it can be extended by about 180 days maximum. So 90 plus 180, this is the extension that is given. This is a really important thing in case of revocation or cancellation. Section is section 30. We move ahead. Guys, if I'm supplying some goods, example, if I'm supplying watches on e-commerce operators, earlier the rule is that even if I'm supplying these watches only in the state of Karnataka, I still have to register. So supply of goods on e-commerce operator, you have to be compulsory registered. Now that has changed. As an e-commerce operator, if you're a person who's supplying goods on an e-commerce operator, here is the deal. You'll be allowed to function even without a registration, but subject to some conditions. First condition, your turnover should be up to 20 lakh and 10 lakh only. 20 lakh in most states and 10 lakh in the states of NT, Mami, Nagaland, Tripura, Manipur, and Mizoram. Basically, if you cross this threshold, then anyways you have to register. Second, you cannot supply interstate. Example, if I'm supplying these watches on Zepto or Flipkart, I will only supply them in Karnataka. What if I want to supply it other states? Then you have to get a registration. Next, I will not supply this in more than one state or union territory. That means if I'm supplying Karnataka, I will supply in Karnataka. Then I cannot go to Maharashtra, set up an office, then supply in Maharashtra. No, this is basically operations only in one state. Then you should have a PAN, of course. You should go to the GST portal and get a common enrollment number. You should declare your details like the PAN, address, or place of business, etc. You should get an enrollment number on the common portal, and the enrollment number can be given only one enrollment number per person. You cannot take one enrollment number in Karnataka and one in Maharashtra. And finally, when you register under GST, then the enrollment number will become ineffective. These are some conditions. Remember the conditions: that 20 lakh limit, no selling it interstate, only selling it in one state, interstate supply, and all these conditions are important in this case. All right. We move ahead. Just one second. All right, let's move ahead to the next chapter. The next chapter is tax invoice, guys. If you go buy something, example, if you go and buy a new mobile, iPhone 17 Pro Max, will the shopkeeper give you an invoice? Of course, they will give you an invoice. And if you're using it for business purpose, that is the invoice based on which you can also take credit. That invoice also has to be uploaded on the GSTR1 portal. Next, here is tax invoice concept. So in tax invoice, there's a small change here. E-invoice, as you know, electronic invoice, which you make on the registration portal. And it's a new invoice, which is applicable for people which are big people, only B2B supplies. Here, now the threshold has been reduced to 5 crores. That means if in any year from 17-18, that is the start of GST, your turnover has been more than 5 crore in any year, then in that case, e-invoice will become compulsory. And last, guys, RCM supply. Example, I'm buying something under RCM. Example, I'm taking legal services for that matter. And that legal services, the lawyer is giving me, obviously, he will not charge me GST. I'm making a diagram here. This is a lawyer and he's providing me services. This is GST services, or this is legal services, which is taxable under RCM. So he'll issue a bill of supply to me. Then how do I take the credit? I have to have a self-generated invoice. Now the self-generated invoice, by when should you issue? You have to issue within a period of 30 days from the date you have received the services. All right, we move ahead, guys. The last two chapters, last one chapter, and then we'll go to charge of GST as well. Returns. Whatever happens in your GST life, you have to tell the government by filing returns like return of outward supply GSTR1, the proper big return GSTR3B, composition scheme suppliers have to file GSTR4, etc. and so forth. You have to file the GSTR returns on the common portal, on the GST portal. Now, let's talk about some mismatches. Guys, there are two mismatches I want to talk about. One is GSTR 3B. Whatever you're claiming as credit, example, I'm claiming credit of 1 lakh rupees this month, but the GSTR 2B, which is basically auto-populated, it shows a GSTR credit only of 80,000. So there is a mismatch of 20,000 rupees. Now the government says that if this mismatch is above a particular amount, then the system will generate an intimation and send it to you. And this intimation is under a rule called Rule 88D. D for difference. Intimation sent by system and ITC availed as per GSTR 3B exceeds the ITC available as per GSTR 2B. Okay. Now, what do you have? You have 7 days either to explain the difference. Why is there a difference? And second, if you don't explain the difference, at least you have to pay the balance amount, the difference amount on that GST credit extra which you've taken, plus the interest under section 50 at the rate of 18%. If you remember that, you have to do both of these, you have to do, or either of these you have to do within a period of 7 days. Either you have to do within 7 days. And if you don't, then there will be repercussion. One of the repercussion is your GSTR1 will be debarred. That means you can't make outward supplies dangerous. Next. A registered person is debarred from furnishing details of outward supply in GSTR1 or IFF in the following cases. So, what are the cases in which GSTR1 cannot be filed? The first case is Rule 88D when you get an intimation and you don't do anything within the next 7 days. Next, there is also intimation under Rule 88C. Now, what is this Rule 88C? This is not GSTR 3B with GSTR 2B. This is GSTR 3B with GSTR 1. So, what you've claimed in GSTR 1 versus what you've claimed in GSTR 3B, if there is a difference there, then there is Rule 88C. I'm just reading it. But before that, guys, if you don't update your bank details under Rule 10A, that 30 days rule, and if GSTR 3B you've not filed, then why should you file GSTR 1? These are the cases, and this is how it works. Next is Rule 88C. C is basically a mismatch in the computation. This is like D only, but here the difference is between GSTR 3B and GSTR 1. Again, you have to pay the difference between 7 days along with interest. So explain the difference. If not, your GSTR 1 will get debarred. And now over to the question of charge of GST chapter. Let's go to charge of GST and let's see what has changed there, guys. Some very, very important changes. First, let me explain. If you're a director in a company, example, I'm writing here, if you're a director and you're providing services to a company, let's say to ABC company, other than salary, then in that case, GST will be paid by ABC company under RCM. I know, I also know, and you also know this already. Now, what is the difference? Now, the director has some premises. He's renting the immovable property to ABC. This is not services given as a director, but of renting. Now, in that case, RCM will not apply because this is not in relation to director services, renting of services. So ABC will pay the GST to director and director will pay this under FCM. So this is the first point. Renting of immovable property by a director of a company to the said company body corporate is taxable normally under FCM and not under RCM. That's the first one. Next, second one you also know, this is IPL and they are providing, let's say, services to Tata's sponsorship services. Tata is paying 100 crore rupees to IPL and Tata's board will be there everywhere replacing Vivo. Now, in that case, is there GST? Yes. This is also under RCM. If Tata is a company or Tata is a partnership firm LLP, then this will be payable under RCM. What if Tata is not a company partnership firm LLP? Then it will be paid under FCM that you already know. Now, what is the change? The change is this. If IPL is a IPL private limited, that means if it's a company, then we will not look at the other person. This was always going to be under FCM. This is a big change. So I'm expecting one of these questions to be asked here. This one is sponsorship services, then was renting by the director of the company. Generally, taxi renting services. Now let's talk about taxi renting services. Guys, this is Uber. They have a taxi or a taxi driver, and this is me. I'm booking it. And Uber is charging me 1000 plus GST. Now Uber is going to charge me. I'm ready to bear the burden, so I will pay the GST. But I will pay to whom? The taxi driver or Uber. They say that this is notified under section 9(5) and the e-commerce operator is liable to pay GST to the government. So on 1000 plus GST, example 180 rupees, I will pay Uber. Uber will pay the government this 180 rupees. This is basically something that you already know. Now what is the change? Now, in this case, if basically from the e-commerce operator, you have booked something called taxi renting, then in that case, on the supplier is liable to pay GST and not the e-commerce operator, but by the company itself. So if this taxi renting company is a company, then this company will pay the GST to the government ahead. This is what they mean by this. This is also a small change, but not a very important change. The first two one are more important. Next, renting of property. I'm not talking about residential property. I'm talking about commercial property. Example, there is a whole building which is rented out to Yasha's Academy, and on that building rent, there is GST. Let's put some numbers. 1 lakh rent, GST is 18,000 rupees. Yasha's Academy will pay to the owner and the owner will pay under FCM. This is the usual case. But now the case is a little unusual because the person who's renting it out unregistered. Renting of property other than residential property by unregistered person. Now, if it's unregistered, he will not charge GST. The government will lose out on GST. So the government says, listen, Yasha's Academy, you only pay it under RCM. So this has been incorporated. Remember, this is only and only for commercial property, not for residential property. What about residential property? That has already been discussed. Residential property, if you want, I'll discuss at the end. But don't do both of them together. You'll get confused. Right now, it's commercial property only. Commercial property generally on FCM. But if you're unregistered, then it will be on RCM. and facility management services, example to housekeeping services, etc., provided to the municipal corporation of Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, etc., will be subject to GST. Yes, it will be subject to GST. This is something just normal. There's nothing more in this. All right. Let's summarize charge of GST. Director renting services. This is important. Director will pay under FCM. As a default, everything will be under FCM. Sponsorship services provided by a company will be under FCM. Renting of taxis, etc., will be by a company, even provided through Uber, the company will be liable to pay GST. And commercial property rented will be under FCM only, unless it is an unregistered person renting it. Now, since you guys might be confused about residential property, let me revise residential property also. The year is residential property. If there is a person who's renting residential property to an unregistered person, then there is no GST at all. This is completely exempt, no GST, no FCM, no RCM. If they are giving it to a registered person who happens to be a proprietor and using it for residential purpose only, again it is exempt, there is no GST. But if it's to any other registered person, example a partnership firm, a company, etc., then this is taxable and this will be always under RCM. So exempt RCM. In residential property there is no concept called FCM. So guys, these are the GST amendments. The idea of doing GST is very, very simple. GST is much easier than DT according to me. And the best way to do it is like this. You do one chapter of GST and then you do one exemption. Example, today I'm doing chapter called, let's say, value of supply. Then I will do one exemption called healthcare services. Just any one exemption. And as and when you finish about 12, 13 chapters, you would have finished about 12, 13 exemption. This is a very nice, subtle way of looking at the exemption chapter because that's a chapter which most people find it difficult. Also, I'm going to be releasing GST revision videos and some more stuff. Stay tuned. Use this revision video well, GST amendment video well to revise often. And if you have any doubts, you can ask them always on Telegram. Signing off, this is Sourabh Mutha signing off. All the best to all of you guys giving the Jan 26 exam. See you.